Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. It really means a lot to me. Get the book. So today, hear me out, guys and gals. Today, my business partner Chris Sauber, we help new sites get started. We help existing sites manage their budgets and get more studies. Chris tells me that a potential client who's a CRA, which is a huge growing segment of new site owners, told Chris that she hasn't seen a video on why now is the best time to be a site owner. And I mean, that's crazy because I just finished a 10-part series of why we're in the golden era of sites. But now really is the best time to be a site owner. And now is really the best time to start a site. We have a lot of tailwinds. There's two kinds of forces in any industry that helps you grow or prevents you from growing. Those are called tailwinds, the ones that help you grow because they're pushing you. And then headwinds, those ones that stop you from growing because they're holding you back, right? We have a lot of tailwinds right now, and we have almost very little headwinds. So the tailwinds we have are private equity. There's a reason sites are consolidating. They see the power. The sites is really the last place where we have not seen massive consolidation. And by massive, I mean there's no monopoly that runs sites. In every other vertical, there's essentially like monopolies or like oligopolies, like one or two or three household names that run everything. Like just look at the CRO space. You have IQVIA, and then you have like the other four letter name CROs that we all know. PPD, Icon, what's the other one? Syneos. That's an oligopoly, right? There's like, if you want to start a CRO, that's fine, but you're not getting much market share, right? Same thing with the tech vendors. Although the tech vendors, because there's so many new things being invented for problems we never knew we had, it's a little more open. But still, if you talk about something like eSource or CTMS or patient recruitment, yeah, you may have a lot of choices, but it's still like more or less an oligopoly. Like Creo, Real Time, some of the other SOS sponsors maybe. Like there's not that many. eClin Pro. When it comes to patient recruitment, I got my own Patient Ace. We're a tiny fish trying to get market share. You've got 1N Health. You've got Study Kick. That's patient recruitment stuff. When you've got EDC vendor, you're literally talking about metadata and then everyone else. When you're talking about IRBs, there's literally two of them that run like 95% of trials. But the sites are different. The sites are just getting started on like the site networks. And you get the big site networks. You've got the Velocities, the Alcanzas. There's a couple others. But those are still not monopolies. And that's a good thing because we still have a window. And I think, personally, I think it's about a decade where the environment is very conducive for starting a site right now. So that's one headwind, or one tailwind, is it's still a wide open playing field at the site level. And there's a liquidity market, meaning if you're able to come in now, start a site, and build it and grow it to a moderately successful size, there's a market that will purchase your site, provided you're over $1 million EBITDA and all the other good stuff that they want. So you have an incentive to build. The other tailwind is physicians are looking for additional streams of revenue. There is consolidation in the community clinics, the private practice providers, they're being rolled up too by private equity. And so those doctors are looking for other streams of revenue. So this makes up fertile grounds for entrepreneurs who are wanting to put the pieces together and start a research site. Another tailwind is the demand from sponsors for access to patients, and especially patients in diverse areas like where I'm sitting right now, Yuma, Arizona, but also in bigger cities where there's still underserved people. Chicago, plenty of opportunity. Los Angeles, plenty of opportunity. Even Florida. If you build the right team and you build your brand, sponsors will come to you. So you've got a lot of tailwind. Another tailwind, I think, is a tailwind. I know a lot of people in our industry thought it was a headwind, but this new FDA administration, say what you want about RFK and his beliefs. I mean, he's a little extreme, I'll admit. But the people he put in place to run the FDA, Marty Makary, Vinay Prasad, these are business people. These are people that are making it, at least so far, it seems like it's an environment of transparency. They just announced 2 weeks ago that they are releasing the complete response letters, which those are the letters they give sponsors when a drug is not approved. They used to not give reasons as to why a drug did not get approved. Like, so that competitors that are looking, it would be like obscure and opaque. Like, how do we know if our study is going to be approved? Well, now the transparency is there. Like, it makes sense to release those letters, and they're releasing the complete response letters from the past retroactively. So now you have all these sponsors with more clarity, I believe. Whatever happens with Trump and his most favored nation drug pricing, I think it's a lot of noise. I think what it boils down to, and not to get too political, I think that's, you're just gonna have to get used to rhetoric and crazy hyperbole from him. But if you look at under the hood, this is a tailwind. This is a sponsor-friendly FDA administration. In my opinion, I want to be one of the first ones in our industry to come forward and say that. So now you have an environment where biotechs and sponsors want to keep innovating, continue to innovate. That means they need more sites. You've already heard the FDA say they want more focus on rare disease. You've also heard the FDA say we want more focus on nutraceuticals, on psychedelics, on one and done treatments. And then there's plenty of other stuff too when it comes to better treatments for things like metabolic disorders, respiratory. And the environment's really good right now. So I think these are all green flags. What is also happening is sponsors are getting more demanding because the technology is more favorable for sponsors to have more control over their studies. So sponsors demand now data to be entered within 3 to 5 days, queries to be resolved within 3 to 5 days. Back in my day when I first started a site, 2005, 2006, I mean, you just do your queries. We didn't even have EDC on my first couple of studies. We had like paper CRFs. So you just answer the queries before the monitor comes. And that translated to the EDC world for about a decade. But something happened post-COVID to where these tools started coming out. I mean, next week we have somebody coming out here that's going to be talking about passive data entry for sites and permissionless. So you don't even have to have sponsor approval but this is AI that is just working on your behalf, basically trying to get rid of the grunt work. So if you're a brand new person thinking of being a site owner, especially if you're someone with some form of experience. So if you are a CRA, which I told you is a huge growing cohort of site owners, a lot of them do well. And then you have coordinators, the more ambitious ones that have kind of climbed the ladder as far as they can go at their sites. And they start their own sites. I talked to a guy on LinkedIn recently who was the site director of a large site. And, he just kind of got tired of working for someone else and started his own site. And they're doing great. There's, of course, growing pains and learning curves. But to replace your salary, if you're someone that works in the industry, to replace your salary, you don't need that much at your new site. Okay, you need like 1 or 2 studies and enroll. Let's say you have 2 studies, randomize and complete 5 patients in each. On any average paying trial, you and a research assistant, and let's say you work out a deal where you don't have to pay rent for an office because you're working out of a doctor's private practice, which we kind of do both here in Yuma. We do like a hybrid model. That's enough to replace your salary, even a 6-figure salary. So once CRAs start registering this kind of stuff, and they start registering, like the site directors or the coordinators start registering, well, I just got to learn how to be a business owner. I got to learn how to do this. And I'm not saying it's easy. This is not, I don't want people to, the takeaway message from this podcast is not that this is easy, because it's not. Whenever you go from a life career long of guaranteed paid income, right? Every 2 weeks you get a check, and then you go step out of your comfort zone and you start your own business. Nothing's guaranteed. You're the one that has to keep that flywheel spinning. And so you need a study pipeline of studies coming your way. Who's going to do that for you? I mean, yeah, if you have experienced PIs and staff, one of my sponsors can help you in NATO, and NATO can get you free studies. Me and Chris can help you, even if you're not experienced. My consulting firm can help sites get studies and even negotiate your budgets for you, and even help you with the source and be a shoulder to cry on and all that stuff. That's another. Like you can leverage the ecosystem of this industry now. And this is another tailwind. Our ecosystem in clinical research is basically catered around sites now. It used to be catered, if you go back a decade. So what is it now? 2025. If you go back to 2015, the industry was catered around CROs. All the tech companies of that time, we exist to help CROs do this better. And we're a patient-reported outcome, and we help CROs manage their ePros, and we help monitor sites. Now, 2025, all the tech, at least the majority of it, is centered around what's called site-centric solutions, helping sites manage their businesses. And this is where Save Our Sites grew out of. Save Our Sites grew out of this soil, site-centric soil, just another site-centric tool. When I started my site, we had nothing for sites. And there was not even LinkedIn. Like I had a LinkedIn in 2008, and no one was using it like they're using it now. There was no news feed. You would just message people and look at people, what they're posting. I think you could have posted stuff on your wall. It was like MySpace. Today, if you need help with anything, you can ask. A few clicks away, another site owner is there telling you what they use, and here's what we use for workflow management. My site uses Monday. tailwinds.com for workflow management. Here's what we use for eSource. We use Creo. Shout out to Creo. They're a sponsor of this podcast. For CTMS and invoicing, we use Creo. For eReg, Creo. For record retrieval, Creo. For business development, meaning helping you find studies, we use DSES, my own service I was talking about, and Inato. For patient recruitment, we use Patient Ace. Shameless plug to my own company with Ronick. Like, these are tools that did not exist until very recently. And so I think, why is this the best time to start a site? I'll tell you a story from 2020. COVID changed a lot. I think COVID was the turning point for CRAs and CRCs to reflect on, like, all that sitting at home and working from home made a lot of people reflect. What are we doing? Like, why are we here? We had a client of me and Chris in 2020. They were a CRA, and they wanted to start a site, and they watched videos, and they figured out from us how to do it. They went ahead and did it. They used Creo, and they never quit their day job as a monitor. They quit about a year later, which is the smart thing to do. I don't think you burn all your bridges, especially if you have no track record as an entrepreneur. You may think you know what you need to do to be a business owner, but until you actually do it, you don't know. So this person never quit their day job, hired a coordinator, went to do their monitoring during their day job, but using Creo, they were able to track what's happening at their site. And they basically told us, hey, without these tools, without you guys helping, we wouldn't have been able to do this. Like, there's no way we could have done this even 5 years ago, because I think Creo came out like 2017, I want to say, 2018. This is relatively new. Now, fast forward to 2025, a lot of these tools are mature. A lot of these tools are now, like, they have user experience. They have, like, they're easy to use. It's not just that there's a service or that there's a tool for whatever you want. It's that you have a choice, and then you have a good experience using it. And they're still relatively cheap because technology is a deflationary force. So there's a lot of good reasons for why now is the best time ever to start a site. Sponsors, especially if you have a physician, if you have a good relationship or networking with physicians, and let's say you have a lot of specialties. So you have an internal medicine, then you have, I'm just talking about what we have at Yuma Clinical Trials. You have an internal medicine, you have a respiratory, so you have a pulmonologist, you have a sleep, you have a neurologist, you have a psychiatrist, you have a cardiologist, you have a dermatologist, and you have a rheumatologist and a nephrologist. You're going to be getting, like, you will have study flow, even if you're research naive, especially if those physicians have private practices of their own. Because what is one thing private practices see that all sponsors want? Patients from the community. And what is another thing? What is a reason? What happens when busy private practices in the community are operating there? Who goes to see them with or without research? Pharmaceutical sales reps. And why do pharmaceutical sales reps go there? Because they want to increase prescriptions for their company's drugs. And who's in charge of these pharmaceutical sales reps? Well, they have their managers, but there are positions above them called medical science liaisons. And who do medical science liaisons want to talk to, and what do they do? Medical science liaisons are the bridge between research and sales. And they want to get their key community clinicians to become experts, not just prescribers, but experts on the research side. Because the idea is they would prescribe more if they have a working relationship on the research side. And so you have all these tools. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a person in the community, you have the raw ingredients all there. It's just a matter. It's like if I had a puzzle here, like it's not put together, but I have the pieces. And the puzzle is not even, honestly, not even that complicated. Some of these puzzles, are thousands of pieces and they're like expert mode. These puzzles are not that hard. Maybe there's like 10 pieces and there's really like 4 important ones, right? Sponsors. Every site owner has basically 4 customers, 4 stakeholders they need to take care of. The sponsors, of course, the physicians, of course, the patients, of course, and their own staff. That's it. Those are your 4 puzzle pieces. Everything else, just like a real puzzle, if you can orient those 4 pieces, you can kind of figure out where the smaller pieces go. That's it. That's your compass. That's your north, south, east, and west. And I don't think people realize that because people don't like to deconstruct things. And if you are somebody in the space who's a CRA or a CRC, you're so accustomed to being told what to do, to being spoon-fed your tasks, that you've lost the ability, or your muscle has atrophied, and your creative muscle. And you don't even need to be that creative. Me and Chris put the blueprint out there on my website, theclinicaltrialsguru.com. If you go to the homepage and you click on the tab called Open Your Own Clinic or Open a Research Site, I think it's called Open a Clinic. We have hours of videos on how to do it, the blueprint. That's it. This book kind of gives some of it. We have a whole chapter on site owners. We have career. Let's go through the table of contents. This book's still selling, by the way. Site level dynamics, finding a PI, office layout and necessary equipment, getting studies, 2 types of documents for every study, that's source and regulatory, SAEs, SOPs, study staff and training, quality assurance. That's it. And then chapter 7's about jobs in the industry. And I mean, that's all you need. Guys, the blueprint's here. When I started, I had to learn everything by trial and error. I had to rely on monitors to take time out of their day because they realized I don't know what I'm doing to teach me. And then the business stuff, learning the business stuff, you just kind of figure it out as you go. Nowadays, you don't even need to network. I recommend everyone network. Go to Save Our Sites. Go to Latinos in Clinical Research monthly webinars. Just get on LinkedIn and go through the news feed and talk to site owners. The strategies are there. Some of these site owners are getting super creative too. And some of these tech vendors are getting creative. And you are now entering the space where the technology is becoming site-centric. So it's getting actually good and it's getting cheap. And it's still optional. We're in the bring your own tech kind of days. You just got to figure out the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. I have a 45-minute video on this. You can contact experts like Darshan Kulkarni if you need help. But I think with just watching some videos and networking with a few sites and maybe with our service, DSCS, you can figure it out. We give all of our clients the template for SOPs. Now you got to modify it because SOPs are only good as how compliant you're actually going to be with them. But we made SOPs for ourselves that we use, and I still tweak them to this day. Every quarter or so, we kind of add something new or tweak something. Because the industry is moving so fast, there's all kinds of changes. But these are good things, guys. And I haven't even discussed AI. AI is going to be the next 5 years. If you think things are site-centric now, they're about to get coordinator-centric pretty soon. Like your coordinator will start using tools for free that are going to make them more efficient at their jobs. You as the site owner may not even know. Nor care. Sponsor's not going to care. The job's getting done. The job's gonna get done better than ever before. Patients are starting to show up to the clinics passively because of things like Patient ACE. Passively, we used to have to hire recruiters. We still have community outreach personnel. But now patients come in passively. I saw the ad, I filled out the questionnaire. I'm here to pre-screen for a study. We would have only dreamed about this 10 years ago. So the next layer to fall is the mundane tasks like data entry and regulatory filing. That's going to start getting done passively soon too. So you're entering at a very good time where you can start doing more with less. It used to be that a coordinator, and it still is the rule, a coordinator could only do like really 4 or 5 studies on their own without any help. I think that's max. You're going to be able to, I think you'll be able to double that within a decade, or by the end of this decade maybe, just because of these tools. And then you'll surround the coordinators with support staff. Like, this is my regulatory specialists, they do study startup. This is my contract specialist. You might even be able to get away with fractional help at all these things like DSCS. We're essentially a fractional biz dev person and a fractional contract and budget person. So the economics make sense. Really, what's stopping most people is they think it's harder than it actually is. So going out and finding a doctor, which might actually be the hardest step, going out and getting that first doctor to say yes. Doctors have, like, if you're a doctor in a community, you get sales reps in there all the time. You've got people trying to sell you all kinds of stuff. They got people trying to partner with them on all kinds of things. If you go in there with confidence and say, hey, I'm a CRA, there's an untapped market here for you and I to collaborate on. You can start out as a contractor with me. We eventually can become business partners. Most of my PIs I share an LLC with. I share a piece of an LLC with a company. 2 of my PIs are contractors, and that's fine. And later they might say, hey, let's share a piece of the LLC as well. They just want to know that their time can be limited, that their headaches will be limited. And the biggest headache they'll get is they have to talk to monitors occasionally. They've got to talk to sometimes the higher ups from the monitors when things don't go exactly according to plan. And those are issues you deal with when you start getting busier. So ideally by then they're actually making money. So they're not as upset about having these conversations. Site selection visits, they have to spend some time. Site initiation visits, they have to spend about an hour. But that's about it. And if you pair the right studies to the right PIs in their private practices, you're actually providing, even without paying them, which you should pay them, even without that, you're giving them an alternative treatment option for their patients. And I know research is not a treatment, and I don't really believe in that whole research as a care option thing. But you are giving options to communities and to people that really need it. And so I do think this is the best time to start a site. I think it's going to be that way at least the rest of this decade, if not an entire 10 years. There's an exit market. There's a liquid market where you can join a site network, become a site network, sell to a private equity firm, get rolled up into one, whatever you want to do. But during that 10 years, you can make really good money. And if the alternative is, do I remain a CRA or a CRC or a site director, or do I hope I get promoted to a project manager or a CTM because it comes with a 15% pay increase and whatever other perks? Or do I want to take the chance of like going a year without income? I think that's the real barrier to entry. Going a year without income. Now that I'm thinking out loud, that's the part that keeps most people from doing this. Going a year without income And this is why those people that are CRAs, they don't quit their jobs for that year. Now they're working really hard that year because they got their full-time job as a CRA, and then they got their side hustle as a site, which eventually will become not just their side hustle, their main hustle. And I think you've got the skill set. I think even if you don't know what you're doing, if you have resources like maybe extra money, you can hire coordinators, you can hire QA people, and you could kind of manage the workflow and kind of learn. If you wanted to learn, you can take on one study just to learn the process yourself. We've had many clients do that as well. So now is the best time to open a research site. You can go from, this is how it typically goes. This is how it went for me at Yuma Clinical Trials. First year, $0. Not the site. The site made like, I think $25,000 that first year. It was from a study startup fee for one study and like 3 screen failures. The second year we got like 3 more studies. That second year I think we did like $150,000. We were actually able to pay ourselves finally as owners. That year I took home $30,000. But I had 3 coordinators. If I were the only coordinator that second year, I could have paid myself the majority of that $150K. Let's say you give your PI 20% of that. So that's $30,000 to them. That's $120 left. Let's say you keep 30 for operating expenses. So that's 90. I could have theoretically took home 90,000 in year 2 if I didn't have staff. Let's say I hired an assistant, I paid them, I could have taken home like 70,000 in year 2. That's from 3 studies. Year 3, that's where all the magic happened. Now we're talking about 4 full-time staff, a couple of PIs. We're starting to take home 6 figures and on. And then year 4, we made 7 figures gross. We grossed it. We made slightly under. And then year 5, we kind of took a step back because this is year 5 now. We were in study startup mode for like 6 studies, half of the year. It's a weird year where we had a bunch of startup fees and like not as many patient visits that we had last year. We'll probably get close to what we did last year, but not. We'll be like we took a slight regress, but then next year is supposed to be our best year ever because this year 5 we had as many studies as we've ever had by far, and next year we start making money from all these studies in theory, God willing. So that's like the 5-year trajectory at a very slow pace because I always had other side projects going on, so I had to have staff, but we're doing good. Like this could be my full-time job if I wanted it to be. If I were working in this full time, I probably would need 1 or 2 less coordinators, and I would pay myself. I could probably pay myself $150,000 from doing this, and that's what I think. That's a lot more than what some CRAs get with no travel. I know that's a lot more than what CRCs get. I know that's more than what some site directors get or some lead CRCs. So, but that happened till year 3 is like where the magic starts happening. So it's year 1, 0 revenue. Year 2, if you're just the one doing the work, you can pay yourself a salary, like 50 to 70K. Year 3, you can start getting into 6-figure talk and then continue on that way. And this is when you start scaling. So yes, it is the best time to start a site. Like, subscribe, comment, share if you need help getting studies for your site, getting started as a site, doing contracts and budgets for your site, training your staff, whatever you need help with, SOPs, patient recruitment. Send me a text, 949-415-6256, and follow me on all the social media channels. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care. Bye-bye. hey, if you guys like that kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Stay tuned for more videos.